key artifacts and deliverables. So within Kanban, we still have some of the artifacts and deliverables, but it's not prescriptive. Again, it's very flexible approach. It's not a full-fledged agile methodology. So bear in mind that it is not prescriptive. It is not really saying that you must have these, you must have these roles, you must follow this sprint time boxing, you must have the sprint retrospective, even though Scrum is supposedly flexible. So if you say Scrum is flexible, then this is like super duper flexible, because it doesn't even tell you to have those roles. It doesn't even tell you to have time box. It doesn't even ask you to have a burn down chart. So that way it is even more flexible. It offers you even more flexibility. And that was one of the reasons why it is widely adopted across the different organizations and industries. So very, very powerful. So essentially, as I was mentioning yesterday, what you're trying to build is the visual information radiator. So at any point of time, you're getting the information and the updates on the progress of the project, of the work, visually. So that's the beauty. That's in a nutshell what Kanban is all about. So the Kanban board is trying to project and continuously emit information to people who are looking at it, not necessarily within the team, but also outside, customers, users, anybody. And the quality assurance people, if they're looking at it, they can understand where we are. They don't have to ask 100 questions, send 10 emails, and then make 5 calls to understand what is happening. It's all there. It's all there. It's up there, right? So what does it really give you? So you need to ask questions to understand, right? Every time, if you want to know what we are doing, what's the status of a particular piece of work, we need to know where we are now. What do we need to do? What are the things that we need to do? And when will it be done, right? By what time, and or how many days, or how many months, how many weeks, how many hours it would take, and who is working on that, on particular set of tasks, in terms of, for example, the front end, if it's a page to be designed and developed, which front end team, if it's something to be done in the database, what table has to be created, a DBA or database team is going to work on that. And the more important thing is, what do I need to do now if something is stuck, right? As a facilitator or as a team member, what am I supposed to work on now, which is the work in progress, which is the current piece of work? And what are the decisions I need to take if you get stuck somewhere, if the flow is not actually smooth and even. So what are the steps, what are the actions, what are the decisions I need to take now to, again, put that flow back? So as we discussed yesterday, the water flow in a pipe, if there are leaks, you need to fix the leak, right? Otherwise the water keeps dropping, and then you actually, the leaks are going to contribute to wastage of water. Or if there's a blockage within the pipe, if the pipe is like this, then there's a blockage within the pipe, then you're restricting the water flow. So the output of that would be less water, right? So you're not really getting the expected amount of water. So you're trying to actually remove the blockage. You're trying to pass through some rod or some steel wire to actually clean up the tube, the pipe, so that the pipe is clean, and then the water actually runs through smoothly and freely. So you actually get the full flow of water as expected. Similarly, in this context as well, it's all about how you would make sure that the flow is smooth, the flow is even, the flow is expected, that there's no wastage in the process, there's no waiting time, there's no muda in the context of lean. There's no wastage of downtime, people waiting, or excess inventory, or making too much of or too less. All of those contribute to the waste. So let's try and create some kind of an visual information radiator. If you want to create your own Kanban board, there are some things that you need to start thinking about. Of course, the simple thing is to actually just go ahead and try and create the one with to do, doing, and done. That's as simple as that. But a little bit more informative one could be what I'm trying to suggest here. So you can try and think about having several dimensions or several attributes to what you're trying to communicate, right? First thing is priority. How important or how urgent a particular piece of work is, or a task is. You need to have that. I also need to have an aspect of the status of that. Status as in, what is the current status, whether it is being done, or is it still being a work in progress, or is it is it still not started yet? So this as simple as that. That's the status. Is it complete? Is it in draft state? Is it actually being, or it could be as complicated as what we discussed yesterday in terms of the development lifecycle. It could be in the requirement stage, requirement drafting, requirement sign off, high level design, low level design. And then you've got development, unit testing. So you can actually have 10 of those: unit testing, integration testing, acceptance testing, user acceptance testing, and then deployment on the development environment, deployment on the test environment, deployment on the live production environment. That completes it. So you've got like no less than 10, 12 different statuses. If you want, you can have it. I mean, there's no such thing as a right or a wrong approach. And then what to do? What is it that is being done? What is the task about? What is the work involved? Is it about fixing something, a defect, an issue, sorting out an issue, or is it trying to make an improvement, make a change to what is already there? Or is it a completely new feature, a new functionality, it was not there before, so you're building something new? Or is it something that needs to be done by the technical team, implementation, which is actually kind of internal to the team, which has nothing to do with the customer or the user? So it can be anything. It can be, as we discussed, it can be the technical task, user story, it can be a change request, a defect, a customer reported bug, or it could be an area of improvement from the internal audit. All of these are basically the tasks, the work items. Anything can be actually tracked and traced to closure. And then you also need to understand who is working on the particular task. So who is assigned to that, who is working on it, so you can actually understand whether they have the right skill set. It's not about finding fault with, hey, you've taken 10 times more than what everybody else does, or you're spending too much time. It's not about finding fault. Rather, it is about understanding whether they have got the right skill set and the resources to complete that task. So basically, when you try and assign a task, you'll see whether they've got the experience, the expertise, whether they've got the right tools and technologies, whether they've got the account, the access, everything, right? And then you try and give this. So it's easy for them to finish quicker than somebody who doesn't have all of those. So that's the reason why you're trying to understand who is working on it. It's not about finding fault. It's not about why did you not finish this in 2 days? It should have been done in 1 day. You spent another extra day, still you haven't done. It's not about that. Agile is not about finding faults. Agile is about working as a team, ensuring and enabling that that the task is closed, no matter who is doing it. So if you know that somebody is working on that, if you know pretty well that the person is not experienced enough, may not have the access to something, or don't have the right tools to create a wireframe, for example, OmniGraffle, they don't have it. So you're trying to enable them. Then you know, okay, fine, this Dave is working on that. He doesn't have the this, so I can actually step in. I can help Dave because I've got some spare capacity on my side. So it's all about that adjustments, and then trying to help each other to make sure the work is done, the work is actually flowing, right? And then the other important thing you need to understand is, what is the origin of this? Is it a technical task? If it's a technical task, who has asked, or why are we doing this in the first place? So there is a rationale for why you're doing something, without spending 5 days on something where you actually have got already. So you've already got the login component. Why are you working on this? It's already there. We've got that in the library. We've got the library component being maintained within the company, where across teams, we've got the components and controls already there. We've got login control, we've got notification control, we've got a component to do the authorization with respect to the access control list. We've got all of these developed. So why are you actually trying to do something which is already there? Why are you working and wasting about 5 days on this? Just use the component there. Just change the name and color and properties, and you've got it in like 2 hours. So you're trying to understand how best you can facilitate the work to be done, instead of wasting. So these are all the waste that you're trying to understand in the process and eliminate them. And then when is it expected to finish? And that again goes back to the estimated size. So it really depends on how complex, how big, how small, how medium, or how simple that particular task or the story or the sort of functionality or the feature is, right? So you need to estimate, you need to come up with an estimate. And again, going back to the estimation course we did, you can do a lot of different types of estimation, relative estimation. We can do story points, we can do t-shirt sizing, it doesn't matter. Fibonacci series, planning poker, end of the day, you need to have some indication of the size of it and what's the complexity involved in completing that work. Because that would then give you an estimate, okay, this can be done in one sprint, 2 sprints, or do I need to have to break it or split it into multiple stories so that I can manage it better? So that's the kind of thinking that needs to go into the estimation. And once you have got that estimation done in terms of the size, as we discussed, first you do the size estimation, then based on the size, you arrive at the effort involved by using the productivity. So size and productivity would give you the effort. And once you have the estimation of the effort in number of person days or person hours or person weeks and months, so that gives you the effort. Once you have that effort estimate, then using the resources, if you have got like 2 people, can I split this? Can I split this amongst these 2 so that it gets really faster? And then it can be done quicker than let's say a week. So that's something that you have got to think. Sometimes you cannot split, sometimes you can. So you need to apply the resources onto the effort, and then you get the schedule. So the proposed or the estimated schedule, does it take 3 days or 5 days or 6 days, depending on how many resources you can apply, right? So the effort and the resources would actually give you the schedule. And the schedule and the number of resources would actually give you finally what we all are after. It's the cost. It's the cost that would be involved to do that piece of work. And perhaps on the top of it, if you need software, if you need access to the database, if you need a cloud account, if you need, for example, help from some other SME, their time, any other special licenses to the softwares in this period, all of those add up, and that's the cost. So you actually get a clear picture of what is involved, how much does it cost, what amount of time would it take to complete that, what are the resources that is required, how many people do I need, what skills do the people need to have, right? All of these would actually make it better to make sure that the work is done in as minimum time as possible. And then the environment, as we discussed yesterday, it could be the environment that is also important, depending on whether it is the development environment, or you're talking about test, or you're talking about the production live environment, where exactly that should be. And also within these, there are multiple variants, multiple flavors, right? We discussed about the test environment having unit testing environment just on its own for the developers. Perhaps there is an integration environment where you're trying to pull in all the different modules and make sure it is all working in tandem, and regression testing done there. And then perhaps there is a user acceptance testing, which is where you're exposing this to the alpha community or the beta community, where they would have a first go of this particular new feature, try and give the feedback, test it and give the feedback. Pretty much like, for example, the PS5, the PlayStation 5 is coming, and then the Xbox is also coming up with its own version. So what they do is, before they actually launch it to the public and make it available everybody to purchase these consoles and the controllers, what they do is they actually have give away these to the beta community, the gamers who actually got this very professional gamers who who have got so many games, have been downloading a lot of games of these, and potentially they would have bought like all the 4 consoles in the last 7-8 years of PS4, PS3 and all that. So and similarly on the Xbox side. So what they do is they'll give this preview of curtain as a free of for reviewing this product to these beta community, to the alpha, just 50 people around the world. They pick up 50 people and then give it. So once they get a hang of how it is, what's their review, what's their feel, they'll try and fix it in the next 2-3 months. And then once they fix those most important, most urgent showstoppers, then they would release into the market saying that now that's available for a wider community. So that's pretty much what can be done with the environments we were talking about. We can actually have the UAT environment. Then finally, we've got the production or the live environment where we put in, and it's available for everyone. So that's another thing which you would like to keep track of. So all these are the different ways that you can actually try and define your role.